Welcome to the Plus English channel.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to completely reframe how you think about grammar. We're not going to look at it as some set of rigid, dusty rules that you just have to blindly memorize. No way. Instead, we're exploring grammar as this exciting toolkit for creating linguistic plot twists. Because honestly, true fluency isn't just about knowing the vocabulary, right? It's about knowing exactly how to manipulate expectation and reality to keep whoever is listening to you completely engaged. So here's our quick roadmap for today. Number 1, the power of concession. Number 2, the core concession tools. 3, grammatical rule breakers. 4, the tricky imposters. And finally, 5, real-world and literary mastery. All right, let's dive right into section 1, the power of concession, setting up the linguistic plot twist. So, to achieve true fluency, you really need to know how to connect ideas to show the precise relationship between them. And concession? Well, it's basically the ultimate plot twist in a sentence. You're acknowledging a circumstance that sets up a very specific expectation in your listener's mind, and then, bam, you completely flip it on them. The actual result is totally different from what they were expecting. It's this expectation versus result pattern that makes your language feel so dynamic. Let's break this down into a simple 3-beat rhythm using a scenario we all know. Step 1 is our circumstance. It was raining. Naturally, step 2 is the expected result, right? Most people would assume they stayed home. But step 3 is our actual result, the twist. They went for a walk. When we connect these pieces using concession, we create a really satisfying narrative flow, instead of just robotically listing unrelated facts. Moving on to section 2, the core concession tools. Let's meet the main cast of words. Okay, these are the tools that are literally going to upgrade your sentences. Meet the big 3 of concession, all of which are followed by a subject and a verb. First up, we have even though. This is your heavy hitter. It conveys a much stronger, more emphatic contrast. Like if you're completely exhausted and you still go to work, you went even though you were tired. Next is although, which is incredibly common in writing and usually preferred in slightly more formal contexts. And finally, though. This is your everyday workhorse. You can swap it with although, but it has this cool superpower. It can effortlessly drop in at the very end of a sentence in everyday speech, like saying, "It was expensive. I bought it though." And this right here perfectly illustrates the difference between clunky, disconnected ideas and fluid communication. Listen to this. It was raining, we went for a walk. Both facts are there, sure, but the relationship isn't marked at all. It sounds kind of robotic. But when you add our tool, although it was raining, we went for a walk, that single word although instantly signals to the listener that a twist is coming. Let's take it a step further in section 3, grammatical rule breakers, switching from clauses to noun phrases. Let's see how this builds by bringing in our grammatical rule breakers despite and in spite of. Now, you really want to notice the grammatical shift here. Although demands a full clause, meaning it absolutely needs a subject and a verb, although it was raining. But despite, it totally refuses to play by those rules. It only takes a noun phrase or an ing verb. So we drop the subject and verb entirely and just say, despite the rain. The logical relationship is exactly the same, but the linguistic outfit has completely changed. Actually, quick pause before we move on, because I want to give you a really focused warning about the single most common structural trap learners fall into. Seriously, lock this in. Despite is 1 word. In spite of is 3 words. Because they mean the exact same thing, people constantly mash them together and say despite of. That just doesn't exist in standard English. So scratch that from your vocabulary right now. Never say despite of. I want you to think of this as your master cheat sheet to anchor everything we've covered so far. The first 5 rows show us how we can wear completely different linguistic outfits for the exact same occasion of concession. You can use clauses or noun phrases depending on whatever rhythm you want to strike. But notice those last 2 rows, but for and apart from, they constantly show up on lists right alongside concession words, but they are actually playing a totally different game. Which brings us to section 4,
the tricky imposters, words that look like concession but aren't.
We are officially entering dangerous territory, folks. Words that look like concession but aren't. These often get mistakenly translated as concession, but they serve completely different logical functions in English. So let me pose a direct question to you. If you swap but for into a sentence in place of although, does the meaning stay the same? The short answer is an emphatic no. And here's exactly why. But for actually introduces a counterfactual condition, usually stuck in the past. Let's compare them. Concession says, despite the traffic, I arrived on time. The traffic happened, but you beat it. You won. Now look at the counterfactual. But for the traffic, I would have arrived on time. This completely flips the perspective. It essentially means if it had not been for the traffic. In this second scenario, you were late. The traffic won. It's a subtle distinction for sure, but absolutely crucial for accurate communication. Okay, how about our second tricky imposter? Does apart from just mean despite? Again, if we just blindly memorize translation lists, we might think so. But the underlying logic is fundamentally different. Take a look at the concession side. Despite a few minor errors, the report was excellent. The idea here is that yes, the errors exist, but they don't drag down the overall excellence of the work. Now look at the exception side. Apart from a few minor errors, the report was excellent. This implies a clear exclusion. With the exception of those few errors, the rest was great. Apart from highlights separation or exclusion, which perfectly proves why we have to understand the actual logic of these words, not just their direct translations. Let's bring it all together in Section 5, Real World and Literary Mastery. Grammar as an expression of thought. Let's see how this theory actually plays out in the real world with some historical and literary masters. Take this incredibly famous quote by Anne Frank. Despite everything, introduces this unimaginably massive, broad circumstance, all the horrors she was witnessing. And yet she uses this simple grammatical rule breaker despite, followed by a noun phrase to pivot into this beautiful, deeply unexpected conclusion about human goodness. It is an incredibly powerful linguistic twist. Even William Shakespeare leverages these exact same tools. In Hamlet, he uses the simple, everyday word, though, to introduce a brilliant concessive clause, though this be madness. He's acknowledging the circumstance, hey, it looks crazy, and immediately contrasting it with the actual result. But there is a method to it. This really proves that understanding basic grammar actually unlocks a much higher tier of thought and expression. And right here, Albert Einstein perfectly balances his personal circumstance with a contrasting emotional result using our more formal tool, although. Notice how although sets up the expectation. He's a loner, so naturally we expect him to feel isolated. But the main clause delivers the unexpected result. He doesn't feel isolated at all. It's the actual architecture of the sentence that makes his profound idea so easy for us to digest. Which brings us to the core philosophy of this entire explainer. The central meaning of what you want to say might remain exactly the same, but you have the power to reorganize that one idea through multiple different structures. True mastery of English, or literally any language, isn't just knowing big vocabulary words. It's knowing exactly how to dress the exact same idea in different ways to perfectly suit your audience, your emphasis.
See you in the next video.